It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time once again for the Andy and Rem Show, episode 157. Cursed City, gone forever. And prepare yourselves now, because not only is Mr. Remington's blind open, there's also something weird going on with his face. So you may want to mentally prepare your eyeballs here, just to make sure you're not caught off guard by what will truly shock you. What the devil is going on there?
I've decided I'm going to bring back the comb over.
The comb over, like, across your forehead diagonally.
Well, if in case my hair ever falls out, I shall keep this front bit as a memento. What do you think? Looking good.
Well, what do the audience think about this? Is this a $1 million idea? Is this going to be the new hairstyle that sweeps the globe?
Yes, I think you need to put some grease in it, and then who knows? Who knows? I'm an innovator.
Well, maybe I'll imitate it next week if it catches on. If all the celebs are doing it, I'm not sure though. I don't know if it's got legs.
Brad says it's very Slaneshi. I tell you what else is very Slaneshi is most people's feeling of desire right now, Andy. You want to know why?
I don't know.
Because they all want this.
Dun dun dun. The Cursed City. And yes, if you look on your screens here, then they don't even have, as far as I can find, the Cursed City game anywhere on the GW website anymore. They have the hardback book, which, just to tempt you, is also no longer available. So that's also sold out, but it's still on the website. But the actual game itself doesn't seem to be on the website anymore. At least it's not searchable. But you seem to have a perfectly nice copy there, which you've cracked open.
I not only cracked open, but I've begun painting and assembling, Andy. I did see one post where this a new box of this was being sold for almost $500.
Dun dun dun.
Insane.
So, shall we catch up a little bit on Cursed City then? So, it seemed like the issue arose, controversy, because there were conflicting reports coming out of different members of GW's either social media team or community team, whatever they would refer to them as. So different accounts, I think it was on Facebook probably. One person claiming that Cursed City was going to be a permanent fixture in the range now, and then somebody else, a few days later, claiming that it was going to be a limited run and then it would be gone forever, and that has turned out to be the case, it seems, unless they backtrack on that and make a load more.
But isn't it strange that the hardback book, which isn't part of the box, is also sold out? If you were C.L. Werner and you were the one that wrote the book, Andy, wouldn't you be a bit upset that there was only this certain number of your novel you spent months slaving over?
Well, it's probably much easier to reprint a book than it is to create entire copies of another game, so you never know.
So, Andy, let's get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
One, and we'll have a little little poll, not a user poll, a poll in the chat as well. Yes, Dead Gamer, I'm glad you're enjoying the hair and the incredible numbers that are flooding into this show. Got 15 watchers now. That's what's that?
That's like
20%.
five more than 10.
That's like a 20% increase than it was 2 minutes ago. So I think this show's going to the moon, basically. So yes, in the chat, and Andy, you think about this. Yes or no? It's a binary answer. Will they print more? Do you think they will print more of this book? I mean, this game, Cursed City, or not? Yes or no? Andy.
It's a tough one. It could be a case of yes with an if or no with a but.
Yes or no, Andy?
My instinct right now says, will they print more of it? Because if we look in the chat there, Graham thinks that the replacement stock is on the ship that was stuck in the canal. So
Well, that's
it's possible there could be more of it out there that hasn't arrived because there were worldwide shipping delays for various reasons. So will they actually create any more? I'm going to guess no. But is there possibly more on the way? Maybe. I think it could
uh,
be a nuanced answer.
that's the politician's answer.
There could be
Uh,
more out there that's already been created.
Brad Jimenez says 2 words: Space Hulk. That's not an answer, and how dare you?
Well,
How
Space
very dare
Hulk,
you?
the deal with that was people went crazy for it because they thought it was limited, and then they ended up doing more print runs of it. Whether they would do that with Cursed City, because Cursed City seems to be a much bigger piece of kit compared to Space Hulk. Space Hulk, a lot less stuff in that box.
So, me always thinking as the investor, I am an entrepreneur, Andy. Perhaps this first edition copy I have next to me might be worth even more. Both ways, edging the bets. So, outcome one, they don't print anymore, and this box of delights becomes very precious. Or outcome two, they print a second, third, fourth run, but it's not quite the same as having a first edition.
Do you
That's
think
my
people
theory.
look at it that way, though?
No, they won't. Unless the actual art is some way different or something different about the second edition. How can you prove it apart from showing someone the receipt?
Hmm.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say yes. Why wouldn't they print more? And I think Graham's Suez Canal is perhaps plausible. I know there was billions and billions of dollars tied up in that backlog of ships that
That's
couldn't
got to
get
be at
delivered.
least like 3 copies of Cursed City.
Yeah. So, Andy, are you feeling FOMO at the minute? Are you fearing of the fear of missing out because you didn't get one of these?
Not particularly.
Okay.
But
Well,
that's also because a lot of the posts I've seen about this game, other than all the wild, crazy, there isn't any, when am I going to be able to get my hands on it? I'm angry, and I'm selling just a square of the box for £100, like a square of the actual cover of the box. But those are only joke posts. But the other thing I've been seeing is that people aren't actually that keen on the rules for this game.
I did see a video about the rules being a bit naff because they're a bit too easy, especially at the start of the game. And you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. I think most people that bought this box set did not buy it to play the game. I thought that most people that bought it are fans of the Empire, fans of formerly Vampire Counts. They think the models are awesome, and there you go. And they think it'll be great to paint.
I think most
I
people probably did buy it for the models, and it did look
Yeah,
like a good deal on that basis.
I'm going to say like more than 80% of people bought it for one of those reasons, and not for the reason of I can't wait to play this skirmish game. You know, so I don't know. It might be a long time before I get to play it as well. I mean, put it this way: it took me 2.5 years to paint the contents of the Silver Tower. There's so many goddamn figures, and there's so many figures in this box set. I'm telling you, man. And if you're painting to the high standards of myself, then it could possibly take me up to 2 years to paint this stuff. But I almost have finished painting one of the miniatures, which I sent you a picture of, Andy, long before the show started.
Yes, it was at least like 45 minutes before the show this week, which about 10 times more time than you usually give me to set all these things up. One of the things I've noticed about Cursed City, because of the backlash against not only GW but people reselling at inflated prices, including the individual components, is the creativity that some people have shown in their, what's the best phrase, scalping. What's it called when you break it up individually? Is there a
Scalper.
separate name for people that do that?
Yeah, it's a scalper.
Okay, so selling off the individual models at overly ridiculously inflated prices. People don't take kindly to that on the Facebook trading groups. But if you try and frame it in a kind of sneaky way to try and get under the radar, I've seen a lot of people attempting that in the last few weeks. So one of them that I saw was something along the lines of, so I bought this Cursed City to play it, but my kids decided they wanted to use different models for the game instead, so I'm going to sell off the ones that are left. And then each one was listed like £50 per hero. Like, very sneaky there. But I think
But
people saw through that one.
you know what, Andy? Me and you are both hardened eBayers, and if someone decides to put Curse City box set up for $500, let them. It doesn't mean it's going to sell for that much, does it? Right? Just because you see something on eBay and it's a lot of money and it's a buy it now, doesn't mean it's going to sell for that.
Some things, it depends. Because if there's been demand for something created purely because there isn't much of it, then potentially you can end up with those insane prices.
Yeah, but over time, I mean, you might have to wait years, you know. And you know what? Um, this is incredible because 5 minutes ago I said the audience viewing figures had gone up by something like 20% from something like 12 viewers to 15, and now it's shot up to 18 viewers. So another 20% increase there or
There's
so.
19 right now. But you're not supposed to tell us exactly how many viewers there are, because as people are listening, they don't necessarily look at how many viewers there are. So if you
No.
just say, we've just had a 20% bump in viewers, people who aren't looking up at the screen might think, oh, they must be up to like 50
Uh,
now.
I think I might have missed up a naught or two on there. That's probably what is going on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
there's got to be more than 19 people. And as we know, people have Andy and Rem show viewing parties as well, where they'll go around to one person's house, like 8 people all sitting around with the popcorn. So that artificially lowers the viewing figures for this show. We're such a social event, especially now that the lockdown restrictions are easing. People are grouping up outside with their projectors and having like drive-ins to watch.
Now, Andy, there's lots of new stuff coming out. One thing I wanted to do an unboxing video. I didn't get the chance to do it. I could still do it, and I think it'd be more interesting now that I've assembled some models. So hang on there, or you know, throngs of people waiting for my second video off my channel. It's coming
You're a bit
soon.
late on the unboxing, aren't you there?
The
People want those
problem is,
people want the unboxing the second the game hits. They don't want any kind of informative, informed viewpoints.
well,
They just
the
want to
problem is,
but they just want you to crack the box open as soon as it lands on your doorstep.
well, those people received the box before it was even in the shops. So it's like they have an incredible advantage. They get it for free. But there you go. We're not quite on that level yet. But yeah, it was the way the hero models fit together is absolutely ingenious. Initially, you're thinking, "This is really frustrating," but
Should we have a
then
look at some of
suddenly,
your hero models while we're
yeah, go on, go on.
talking? So there's one you've painted there. Let's look at the actual. There's
Yeah,
the
well, listen,
heroes.
I've only done one session on it, but look, these are the heroes. They are a lot larger than old lead miniatures. Let me put it that way. They're a little bit taller. I do think Games Workshop miniatures are creeping up in size.
You've only just
Uh,
noticed.
yeah, I just noticed. And the ogre head there on the right, the ogre's head is significantly smaller than the ogre balls that you might have seen over the past 10, 15 years from Games
Slightly
Workshop.
more believably scaled, then perhaps.
Well, I think they look a bit more like Mantic ogres, to be honest. I like the big-headed Games Workshop ones of old. They looked a bit more goofy. They're on 40 millimeter bases. I think they're actually 30 or 40. I think the ogre's on a 40 millimeter base, so yeah, the others must be on 30 millimeters.
They could be on 25s.
32. Oh
Is it, or
god,
is it 32
don't ask such
millimeter? 32
guys,
is
don't
like the
ask
new
such.
standard Space Marine size base, so I'd imagine they're
I,
probably on those if they're
I
large.
can't deal with technical questions like that, guys. I mean, I don't know. They look right to me. Yeah, definite lack of gut, Brad. I think that's a good point. There's no gut plate on the ogre. So what's all that about? So this is maybe he's not part of the Moor tribes.
So it's an
He's an
ogre.
imperial.
It's an ogre gritty reboot, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on that. Can you believe this? I'm getting messages from students now. It's just unbelievable.
Do
Anyway,
they not know who you are?
um, they don't realise, mate. They don't realise. So the first model I put together was the wood elf, and just an absolute beautiful model. You can see her in the middle there with the bow. She could slot straight into my Wanderer's army, no problem. Really, really lovely model. And obviously, the Witch Hunter is sublime. Now, what I like about the way these models are constructed, when you slot them together, you can unslot them. You don't need any glue. So you can see there that Witch Hunter there, his face is going to be quite difficult to paint at the moment, isn't it? But
Yes.
I can take it off. I can take him apart piece by piece. So not that I will, because I'm lazy, but I could, if I wanted to, take him apart and do a more detailed paint job
That is
on
always
those hard
handy.
to reach.
Because previously, when you don't
Um,
have the kind of
yeah.
clip together, fit, easy miniatures, then if you want to paint something that's behind a bit of detail, like behind a bit of cage over someone's face, for example, you kind of have to awkwardly maybe blue tack it in place, and then that messes with your painting ability.
So yeah, and Peter Bryan says, are the bases bigger than the spaces they play on, as is traditional? I don't know, but if they're all heroes, then yeah, I guess they're going to be bigger. Oh my God, says Roshi, I will definitely glue them. I was a bit scared gluing them because then I won't be able to go back, but we'll
You
have to
can you
see.
can glue them whenever you want, really. You don't have to glue them immediately.
Yeah, you can see like in the dwarf figure there, you can't quite see his face. That maybe he does need gluing, but he would fit right in to a dispossessed army as a dwarf engineer, no problem, or a Caradron Overlord's army. So um, Brad says, what do we think about the difference in aesthetics with the other Kernothi in Beastgrave? So in Beastgrave, you've got this sort of new race called the Kernothi, and they're kind of like wood elves mixed with animals, like a kind of a centaur wood elf kind of vibe, but different from Sylvaneth. I think there's a lot more mileage in that. I think that wood elf would fit in that, but she doesn't really have any animal limbs. She is all elf. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely stunning. I'd made a start on the bad guys anyway. There's Radigar the wolf, and his face is going to be hard to paint because he's wearing a lot of fur, and his sort of Igor-like sorcerer there on the left, the hunchback, and you've got the skeleton captain there on the right, which is phenomenal sculpt. Um, yeah, having a lot of fun, but I realised just how many figures are in this box. Um, there's masses, Andy. There's like a whole regiment of skeletons,
How many years do you
almost a
think before you
whole
got them all
regiment
done?
of zombies. Um, it depends if I get my head turned with doing other things. If I just focus on this, I think I'm gonna say 6 months.
Let's look at Remington Paintwork
Oh my
HD
god,
Edition.
that looks so bad,
And any miniature looks bad when you
so bad.
enlarge it this size. I mean, look at that. You're not supposed to be able to
Because
see like that tiny bit of hair poking out of it.
look at that, those red highlights. They look terrible. It looked good from a distance, but there you are. So this is just stage. I'd say this is my stage 2 or 3. Got a long way to go on it.
Yeah, this is obviously vastly bigger than the miniature actually is. So it's never going to look like this to anybody unless they bring a microscope to the table.
Actually, the face looked terrible while I was painting. It doesn't look too bad now for a zomboid.
Look, it looks much better like that, which is more like it'll appear on the table.
Yeah.
Even like Golden Demon level painters, if you zoom in that far, think, what? What's that bit of colour doing there?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a relief. So yeah, these guys, they're kind of like Muscovite, Islevite almost, like ogres. I love the aesthetic, and there's not too much crap on them. Like, what you see is what you get. He's got a belt, a czarist coat, and a furry hat, and a double-handed executioner axe. That's it. He doesn't have a backpack and a dagger and another sword and some potions and a wallet and a briefcase and whatnot on him.
Well,
I do like that.
most important question on everyone's lips right now is, if your head doesn't get turned, are you going to paint them in time so that when we're actually allowed to game, we can have a game of Cursed City and assess the rules?
Well, what would you like me to paint? Would you like me to paint the heroes first? Because that's what I did with Silver Tower, and then it took me another 18 months to paint all the
I think you
all
paint
the.
the heroes first because they're always going to be on the table, aren't they? The enemies come and go, but the heroes remain. So you want them to be painted.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I've started on this guy now. Um.
Well, do him first
um,
and then do the
yeah.
heroes.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. When I first saw Curse City advertised, it was just like I must get this. But you kind of do you remember I went through the chart with you of how you feel about the cycle of wanting miniatures, and then you get them, and then your head gets turned, and then you realize
Yes.
just how long it's going to take you. I'm kind of in that stage now where I've had the box unopened for a week and thinking this is great, and then I started reading a bit, and then started building them, and you think, wow, this is just like a massive project. And the thing is, Games Workshop keep bringing out more stuff, don't they, Andy? As we'll see.
They do, but before we go on to the rest of the GW news, since we've just been looking at your hobby progress, let's have a look at what I've been up to. So, you may remember that I was working on this guy. So I've actually attached one of the arms now. So you can see that he's about to feed some of those poor unfortunate souls into the giant tentacle mouth that he's got going on in his belly. And you can also see that he's got a couple of faces with their tongues sticking out, which are also tentacles, on his knee area. Faces which, of course, are in green stuff. And if there's any kind of illegality relating to making green stuff replicas of your own model parts for personal use to use on the model that they were intended for, then lock me up, I'm afraid. But the reason that hasn't had too much progress, one thing, I've been waiting for some very specific tentacles to arrive, which I need. And also, I keep getting distracted by painting more Walking Dead miniatures, so I'll show you what I've been doing here. So for anyone familiar with the Walking Dead PC and console games, they'll know who these two characters are. Very spicy. And I know you love the nice plain bases that they have going on.
How long did it take you to do their bases?
A
Concrete
very short
pavement.
amount of time. Couple more characters there. A nice fast style. If anyone wants to see how I paint the Walking Dead miniatures, then I've got a video on this channel, how to paint board game miniatures fast without using contrast paints. Some people don't like the look of contrast. And there's some more. Can't really see, but this guy's got a bit of a stylish beard going on. And finally, some walkers, also known as zombies. It's usually just identified by the fact that I just splatter blood all over them.
Now I watched I think up to season 6 of Walking Dead, I think. But I think in the first season or second, didn't someone have a hook for a hand?
Yes, that's quite a
In
common thing when someone loses a hand. It's very convenient when they lose a hand for the actors, I'm sure, because they can just put an attachment on the end, can't they?
yeah,
Whereas
there's one.
when it's a leg, you either have to CG it or just film them from a very specific angle when they've got the leg tucked up behind.
Well, there was the vicar character. He got his leg bitten off, didn't he? We had to have it chopped.
The old farmer, yeah, he did lose a leg. Series.
Yeah.
It's easy for people to lose eyes as well because you just stick an eye patch on them.
Yeah. Are those characters in model form?
All the characters from the comics are in
Oh.
model form, and most of the characters from the TV series were also in the comics, but not all of them. So
Was
most of
the
them,
girl with the samurai sword. The girl with the samurai sword. But
yes. In
she's ace,
fact,
man.
she's right here actually, next in the painting pile.
That's awesome. When she first appeared on the show, she managed to and not get eaten by zombies because she tied herself to two zombies, didn't she? And she chopped their arms off
You talking about these
and
two zombies by any chance?
it chopped their jaws off as well. So they couldn't actually maul her or eat her. But the other zombies left her alone because
Comes with the
they
little
were
chain
gone.
as well to hold them both.
That's fantastic, man. Do they have names, them two guys?
I'm sure they do. I can't remember the names of those zombies that were carried around, but there's a load of characters here.
Andy and Remington.
Don't know about that.
Remember that?
So basically, there's an entire. What's even the word? How can you describe the vast quantity? There's a plethora of Walking Dead miniatures in this house that I need to paint. And I've been working steadily on them. The shelf is growing. Looking at it right now, there's quite a lot on there, but there's even more left to do. It's a vast range that Mantic have come out with.
Andy, this show is going off the rails. I said we're going to the moon. It looks like we're going to Mars now because since I last mentioned it to you, the viewing figures has gone up by another 50%. So thanks for being here, guys. I'm glad you're here. I bet you're glad you're here, finding out about what's new, what's true, and what's blue.
So, shall we look at some interesting GW bits here?
Let's do that, man.
Whiz, which of the new Slaneshi demons are you?
Ooh.
So, question
Oh
one,
my
how do you
God.
like your scepters? Do you like A, long for striking down the works of mortals in melee combat? B, short for weaving chaotic magics that corrupt and coerce? That sounds like your kind of scepter, doesn't it?
I like a short one, really. I think a long one, it could hit you in the head very
It's kind of
easily.
unwieldy.
I think
Yes.
long enough to be a walking stick, though, in case.
So kind of medium scepter.
Medium scepter, yeah. That's me.
Question two. What is the appropriate number of adornments on your back? A.
Oh,
1. Unfurled to command respect from all who cower before me. B. 2. Appearing as graceful wings to lift me above the world of lesser beings.
I would say A, because it looks so much like a peacock. Resplendent, defiant.
I am in agreement there. Question 3. How do you wear your horns? A. Raw and primal, like my desire to conquer the mortal realms. Or B. Refined and elegant, the better to sway new believers into the fold.
I'm going to say raw and primal. I like the way they weave together.
There's something to be said for both of them, actually. The raw, primal ones do have that nice kind of organic look, but there is something to be said for the more decorative ones as well. I'd be stuck on which of those to pick, actually. So,
Yeah.
you answered mostly A. Then Dexessa, the Talon of Slanesh, is the one for you.
Why does it have to have such strange names? Why couldn't they call her Diana? You know, like something a bit more memorable than Dexessa. What?
So, what do you
But
think?
anyway,
4
next.
arms, 2 legs. That's not very exciting. But
It
that big kind of
absolutely
peacock style plumage going on there.
just unbelievable. What a phenomenal miniature, right? It's and you could use this on a hot day of wargaming. If you could use him as a fan, couldn't you? Little Chinese fan.
You probably could. I am going to offer one small critique though. And it's an issue that I actually saw someone, they had it on like the Warhammer moaning bingo card on one of the Facebook groups. People complaining about the hair on the new miniatures. And I don't know if the hair needs to be just so simple and kind of wavy like that. I talked about this when those vampires popped up. They had very kind of swooshy but plain hair. And I like the more elaborate hairstyles. And I think on Slanesh demons, That could be something interesting to play with there. Some slightly ornate hairstyles that look like they've had like special hairdressing demons working on them. I think that could be interesting. But anyway, it's a minor gripe with this one. So there's that. And if you wanted mostly B, then you'd want Sinessa, the voice of Slaanesh. So do you want the Talon or the voice?
Well, I'm sure if you're Vince Venturella from Warhammer Weekly, you're going to want both.
He's probably already painted like 5 of both of them by now in different colour schemes.
So are these basically greater demons? Is that what they are? Or are
Well,
they lesser demons? Are they what?
I don't know if they are considered greater demons or not. Let's see. Does it tell us?
Or just demons? Or like, you know?
I don't know if it specifically uses the word greater, but they're certainly demons. And it does mention that they can be lifted above lesser beings, so they're at least greater in some respect. I don't know whether they're officially considered greater demons.
Now, wouldn't it be funny, Andy, if, you know, a small herd of night goblins managed to poke their way into killing one of these? Wouldn't that be amazing? Um,
Yes?
yeah, that'd be kind of cool. And of course, you can do that in Age of Sigmar, I think. I'm told. I didn't actually get to do that. My goblins got absolutely decimated and eaten alive by your Star Drake last time they were faced with a big monster.
Yes, the Star Drake did eat quite a lot of your troops over the years.
And also, there's mention here of the family of witch hunters, which we covered in one show. Now, that's a father and daughter team. How on earth are them two lowly empire witch hunters, ever going to stand a chance against something like this?
Well, I'm
With a,
sure that a witch hunting family will have trained and researched for many a year on how to bring down even the most powerful demons. So if any one individual mortal would have a chance, you would think it would be one of those, or a pair of them. They must
well,
have some kind of demon slaying equipment, mustn't they?
I think subtlety and gamesmanship is the way to take down a Slaneshi demon. It's not full frontal attack. Perhaps it's like, just before we fight, care to have a drink with me? And that drink perhaps is poisoned, right? That's the way you take down one of them. Or for you, Andy, with your amazing operatic voice, perhaps you would sing a lullaby, and they would either shriek and melt away into the demonic ether, or they might even fall asleep.
Potentially. Or you could challenge them to a game of dice. And then cut to 5 minutes in the future and it's just your head on a stick. But nice models. Obviously, their feet aren't touching the ground because feet aren't allowed to touch the ground anymore. There has to be some kind of danglage that makes everyone look super tall. In this case, robes.
Peter Bryan says, "Hit him with a cannon," which is, I think, Peter, you've got to be a Warhammer 8th edition player with a statement like that. That used to be a lot of fun, didn't it? If you were the guy shooting the cannon, take them off first turn.
So back to Walking Dead for a second. Those two zombies that had their arms and jaws chopped off. Apparently, no one does remember their names, but Stu says they are the corpses of Michonne's brother and husband. She did that as punishment as they got her infant son killed.
God.
So yeah, I do vaguely remember that, but I don't remember if they ever had names that were told to us. At least not in the
Really?
TV series that I can recall, because I've never read the comics.
Stu, I know you're a recent father and you're saving up all these stories as a good night stories, aren't you? Uh, amazing.
Speaking of floating and danglage, we've got more. What about this? So this has caused quite a stir.
A stir? It's a hippie with a bong.
It's it's some kind of instrument.
It's a peace pipe, isn't it?
It's got
It's
beetle eggs on the adornment there. That's what it appears to be
so,
anyway, unless the beetle has just crawled into something that isn't a beetle egg.
so this guy plays his pipes of peace, and the eggs hatch, and those little hatchlings come out and freak out an enemy to death. I can't see it happening. I mean, this guy is it's a beautiful model, there's no doubt, but it's just strange. I mean,
It's
he
very
doesn't
weird.
look like yeah, he looks like a I mean, yeah, sure, the Pied Piper, but you wouldn't really want to follow this guy into battle, really, would you?
Should we see what the text says? So, just when you thought the mortal realms had reached the pinnacle of strangeness, along comes a floating tree spirit with a magical war flute. There you go, it's a magical war flute, obviously. In the upheaval caused by the events of the Broken Realms saga, Alariel has been hard at work scouring Gairan, the realm of life, from the taint of chaos. When the Everqueen sings a song of cleansing at the Oak of Ages Past, something entirely new springs from the roots. You can actually see it's got tree legs, this guy.
Yeah, I don't like those tree legs. They look horrible. I mean,
It's a strange one.
talk about having tree trunks for legs or stumpiness.
Floating on thermals of sheer magic, war-songed revenants play a spirit song which has the power to cause the land itself to come alive. Their music is a balm to the Sylvaneth and the promise of vengeance to their enemies. The war-song revenants can even summon a malicious swarm of spites to attack nearby enemies. This elegant model is covered in details that will delight painters of every skill level, including a variety of textures like wood, leaves, skin, and finely wrought metal to experiment with.
Look at those hatchlings there, Andy. Don't they look like sort of aliens, or are they supposed to be like baby dryads? I don't know. No one knows. Brad Jimenez says the special ability versus Skaven, Pied Piper. I like it. Plays his flute and all the Skaven fall into line. Apart from that, I cannot see how this creature would be formidable in any sort of combat situation.
Use your imagination. A swarm of critters attacking your enemies. It's got all kinds of vines sprouting from the earth that could kind of ensnare your foe. And then it can play the flute at you.
I suppose. Do you remember that wood elf spell, Throne of Vines, or was it Law of Life? Wasn't it? Throne of Vines. I suppose that's what a Throne of Vines looks like these days. Um, yeah, I don't know. I loved it when you first showed me a link to this. Was it yesterday? I thought, wow, phenomenal. And now I look at it, I'm not so sure. I look at the elegance of those Slaneshi demons, and then
It's one of those, it's good. The quality is very high. But does it work? Does it work for you, aesthetically speaking? Do all the pieces mesh together? Because they're obviously well crafted.
will there be options? Do you think there'll be
Usually you
optional
can
build?
build two varieties, can't you, from each kit nowadays? They'll probably give you something else to do with the same model. But there's something about it, the total package is less than the sum of its parts. If you look at each individual component and how beautifully crafted it is, the end result should be better than this, if you ask me. That's my
Well,
expert analysis.
if I was to do a conversion, I'd have squid. Yeah, I'd have squigs coming out of the eggs and a squig coming out of the pipe. That'd be funny then.
There's just something about it that doesn't quite work for me as an expert on these matters.
It's really imaginative though, isn't it? It's great, and it's about time Sylvaneth had more human-like miniatures in their panacea. I want to say, is that the word?
Pantheon.
Mind. Pantheon, that's it. Anyway, what's next, Andy? Good stuff, though.
Well, let's have a look. Oh, what's this? It's time for
Remington's Millions.
Take it away. Remington's
Oh.
Millions.
Now, as market uncertainty has been hitting the waves these last 2 weeks, well, ever since the end of February, really, um, fears of Biden tax hikes, fears of a lot of businesses having to shut down, as the reality of this year and a half of year of COVID affected the markets, and we've got lots happening. But under the radar, Games Workshop in the past month has been creepy crawling its way back up the stock market charts. And you can see the whole year chart there. Um, it went all the way down to £56 a share. And then it went all the way up to its all time high, which was about £117 a share. And it went down to 95. That's where I bought some more. That's where that dotted line is. But up and down, but generally up. We've crept up to almost £108.
It looks like it's holding pretty firm there, doesn't it?
It
There's
does.
little bits of variation, but it's not going anywhere crazy right now.
No. It is seen by many analysts as being overvalued right now, but they have little understanding of the power of Citadel and Games Workshop.
And the power of the influence of the voices on this show as well, propping up GW's stock, might I add.
Exactly. A year of lockdown, a year of not being able to sell stuff in their physical stores has not really affected Games Workshop badly, at least not in the figures, because their online sales have just gone through the roof, as evidenced by Cursed City being sold out. What more evidence do you need? Things are looking good.
Precisely. Okay, what's next? Rumor Engine. It's an eye, and it looks very Zinchian. I'd be very
Definitely.
surprised if it's not Zinchian. That would be probably the shock of the century. So what do you think this is? Do you think it's a new kind of Zinch warrior character?
Well, we've seen a whole glut of Slaneshi stuff, haven't we? Long overdue. And Korn obviously got a shit ton of stuff in the first few years of Age of Sigmar. And Nurgle, I don't know enough about Nurgle. It's had a few bits and bobs of new stuff, hasn't it? Maybe not in the last couple of years. Maybe it's time for Zinch, right? We've had Zinch Disc Riders, haven't we? And we've had Zinch Beast Men.
Zangor.
That's the word I'm looking for. We've had some Zinchian sorcerers. We've had some what do they look? They look a bit Egyptian, don't they? The acolytes, no.
The Kairik Acolytes, something like that?
That's the word, that's
Yeah.
the one, yeah. So what are we looking for in Zinch now? What do we need?
Well, to me, this looks like more of a sorcerer's staff head than a stabby weapon. Very spindly looking, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we don't need new blue horrors, do we? Or pink horrors. Maybe this is part of some more Zinch demons, right? Or are we going to have more Zinch mortals?
It does just look like a stick that a powerful spellcaster would be carrying to me. So, whether that means it'll be a hero as part of a warband, perhaps.
What about a reimagining of the Zinch scribes? Remember that? It was a fine cast miniature, wasn't it? They were on like a floating carpet.
Hmm.
There's two Zinch heroes. Probably kind of quite rare now. Hello, Danny. Hey guys, wow, it's good to see you. Hope you're good. We've
Yeah, the audience is keeping quite hefty amount of concurrent viewers at the moment. Thanks in no small part to the non-stop wave of entertainment that's currently splashing against the faces of all of them.
Dead gamer on point as usual, my man. The blue scribes is what I was trying to refer to. Maybe I'm going to put my nose out a joint and say it's a reimagining of the blue scribes.
I think it's going to be a fairly generic sorcerer in a warband. That's my prediction.
Boring. Okay.
So we'll see who's right, won't we? Okay, what's next? Oh, it's some more Walking Dead stuff that I painted that I didn't show you yet. So these are some more zombies that I did a couple of weeks ago.
Bases. Sorry. Yeah, great job, Andy. Absolutely amazing. I like the guy. I like the airman's jacket guy.
Which one?
At the front, wearing black.
That one.
Yeah, he looks cool. Yeah.
Of course, you've got the prison guard at the back there.
This is really good, actually. To be fair, I mean, the guy at the front, he's had his arm bitten off there. That looks like a terrible injury.
It does, and he's actually got a bit of intestine running down his leg as well, which dangles down behind him.
That can't be good. I mean, imagine someone walking into the intensive care unit where you might work. I mean, where do you start?
I think you probably start with somebody else that's not dead. And then, of course, that guy at the back looking a bit green. I thought, you know what? He's kind of done like he's all bloated and looks like he's been maybe floating in the water for a while before he popped up to attack everybody. So that's what I've gone for there.
Danny Ashby, did I miss the conversation about Cursed City? Yes, my dear, you did. But
you can always go back and watch it later because it was riveting.
Or you can just feast your eyes upon one of the only copies left in the Midlands where I live. Apparently. But I don't believe that's true. We basically came to the conclusion that they're going to print more. Why wouldn't they? Right? That's what I think. Yeah. Splendid, Andy. How many of these miniatures you got now? Have you got everyone you can get? Is there more that you want?
Well, to tell you the story, Annie decided, after we played a few games of the base Walking Dead game, she wanted to get more models to spice it up. So she buys them, and I paint them, was the deal. She bought a few, and then, not being satisfied with that, she then went out into the wider community and said, hey, does anyone have like a load of Walking Dead stuff they want to get rid of or trade or something? And then as a result of that, we've ended up with almost everything in the entire range.
And how far away from completing painting all the range?
It's hard to say because some of them are duplicates as well, because we've got more than one of certain things. But I would say I must have maybe almost 60 of them done. And I'm going to have to do that at least twice more to get them all done, I'm sure. So there is a lot in the range.
180 miniatures.
It's hard to say though, because not all the zombies are unique, and we only need one of each zombie. So most of the little booster packs do come with unique zombies in, which is nice. You see the little child zombie there with some freehand writing on his t-shirt. It says cool. Look at that. Top-notch painting there. So yeah, that's a fun game. So anyone who watched the previous battle reports on this channel can look forward to more very soon, with some new spicy models included, and new battle mats that we got as well. And probably more exciting terrain at some point soon as well when we get around to painting that.
Nice. Well, Andy, I saw a picture of you on social media, and you looked like you were at Warhammer.
I can confirm that I did go to Warhammer World. I was going to take a picture with the Stormcast statue, but there were a load of people standing around it. So I thought, you know what? Let's not go into the cloud of COVID particles. So instead, I just went for plan B, which was take a picture with the Space Marine. And the reason I was there, let me see. Can I actually find hint that I went there?
Oh
specifically.
God! Don't tell me you went into World to buy one paint pot. I mean, guys,
Yes.
I've been to Warhammer World a couple of times where there's like people from China, people from the United States come all the way just to visit that, and they're buying stuff in bulk, buying stuff that they thought was sold out. That Andy goes there, buys one paint pot.
That is true. So previously, I had this contrast paint, this Joss purple, but it's not really purple to me. It looks way more pink. I wanted to get an actual purple contrast paint, so I got Shaiish purple.
It looks like black.
Well, I can assure you, it's not.
That's incredible. I mean, Andy, I don't know if you're familiar with the comedy show Little Britain, but there was a sketch in there where this guy goes into a shop and he orders this pirate game from 1974. And
I always want something a little less piratey.
yeah,
Yes.
that's you, that is. So, was there many people in the store? Was the gaming parts of it open? Or was
The
it just
gaming areas and Bugman's are not currently open, and go in one way and then they filter you out through a different door, obviously, to minimize any mingling with other humans. There weren't many people in the shop at any given time, but they weren't like rushing people out. There wasn't a huge queue of people outside, so I was able to have a look at some of the new stuff in the cabinets, all very spicy.
Did you see any copies of Cursed City?
There were the Cursed City miniatures in the cabinet that looked very nice. So all the new stuff, because there's been quite a lot of releases while it's been mostly closed. So I imagine there are a lot of miniatures that people have seen in picture form but haven't seen up close in the flesh. So if you're able to look in the cabinets, it's a good time to do so. Now that
And
things are opening up again.
may I say, Andy, that we've now hit a landmark live viewership. Actually, it's just gone down, but yeah, another 30% there added since we last mentioned it. So yeah, this show is going supernova.
Now,
What's next,
I'm
Andy?
just going to warn you, actually, Mr. Remington, because you haven't done your unboxing of Cursed City yet. And we've got yet more people piling into the unboxing bandwagon. Because Danny says that she's going to unbox her copy of Cursed City.
That is,
So you could be, if
yeah.
someone types in Cursed City unboxing, poor little Remington Steele's channel could be result like 783 by the time you release that thing.
All I'll say is that I have 667 subscribers, stalwarts of the community that have 666 of them have stayed with me for the past couple of years. And
Isn't
in
it
that
true
time,
that multiple people unsubscribed when you uploaded your last video?
I didn't check the stats, but yeah, I think we've got 666 is a decent number for viewerships, subscribers. Fair enough, isn't it? It's all right. I can't moan. It does make me think. There's no reason why if I uploaded a video every day and it had decent production qualities, I could be getting hundreds of thousands by now, right? I might
Yeah,
even be able
that's...
to monetize my channel if I knew how to do anything like that. No idea how to do any of that stuff. So
Well, nowadays, to monetize your channel, there's quite strict rules. You have to have, I think it's 1,000 subscribers, or is that?
nearly there.
I think it is, and you have to have accumulated a certain number of views over the last month. I think it is.
Oh god.
So it's
Oh,
quite
God.
difficult to get now. So I think when I first monetized my channel, the rules were much easier.
So if I got 100 views from a video and you need 4,000 views in 1 month, I would have to make 40 videos in 1 month, each getting 100 views.
sounds about right if those are the rules. So you'd really want a few videos that do really well, ideally, in a short
can't
space
lie.
of time.
I can't. Yeah, Danny, thanks. I'll watch yours too, Rem. Says Danny, that's awesome.
I wouldn't worry about monetizing though. It's not
No.
as lucrative as some people might have you believe, unless you're one of the big channels.
I hate the adverts, man. I hate it. I'm just ready to press skip. And
Why don't you get the, what's it called?
YouTube Premium?
Yeah,
If I did that, I'll have to stop Spotify, I suppose, or stop Disney Plus. Disney Plus is a bit crap to me, isn't it? It's like I don't know. I don't get it. I watched it for The Mandalorian. It was brilliant, and then like everything else I've already seen, or it's kind of I don't know. Maybe I've just grown out of Marvel now. I don't know. So I mean, I can't see the point in watching that anymore. That's just
Yeah, there's a lot of subscription services out there competing for your time and your money. Netflix seems to do very well, and then Amazon Prime has the advantage of also being linked to the Amazon
yeah.
like
That's what it's all about now,
hyper-speed
Andy. I mean,
shopping
Apple,
experience as well.
Spotify are going to start monetizing the podcast section of it, so you pay extra to watch that. And Apple are going to be having some new subscriber feature.
We need an Andy and Rem app with a
That's
subscription feature on there, don't we? That's how we'd start
no,
raking
yeah,
in the serious cash.
it's reoccurring revenue they call it. Reoccurring revenue, what it's all about. I mean, I've been hearing stuff like they're going to be giving Apple iPhones away for dirt cheap because the real money is in the reoccurring revenue, isn't it? And in the apps.
Unless you get people like me that never spend any money in apps.
No, but there you go. But that's what a Patreon is for, says Brad, and that's very true.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
why people should generously donate. And we've
and
got a Patreon related segment coming up at some point soon. But first, I hope Mr. Remington, because he's had a couple of weeks to think about this, had a couple of weeks to come up with what his hot tip is for this week. So he's got the length of the soundbite intro to come up with his quick, concise, not at all rambling hot tip. So it's time for
Remington's hot tip. Ooh.
There you go. The floor is yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I really did prepare for this hot tip. I can't remember what my last hot tip was, but what's in my mind currently is a phrase called "buy the dip." Buy the. What do you think that means, Andy?
Buy the dip. Are we talking about buy as in purchase or buy as in what?
Purchase. Purchase the dip.
Purchase the dip.
Buy the dip.
So are you talking about in kind of fluctuating value terms?
Yes.
Is this just another way of framing the hot tip that you've given every week so far?
Probably yes. When something's really popular and everyone wants it, that's when you don't buy it. Right? Something like Cursed City, everyone wants it, right? They're popular. Why? Scarcity. Yeah. Scarcity, you want it, but you can't have it. You've just got to be patient in life. Wait like a hawk for your moment and buy that dip when something becomes beaten down like a dirty dog, left for dead, starved and hungry. That is when you pounce and you buy the dip. Could it be Games Workshop shares when they drop below £95 a share? Could it be Bitcoin last weekend when everyone thought, now the party's over, everybody. We're going to have a 40% tax hike in America. Sell all your stuff so you won't have to pay tax. Turns out it's just a rumor and it might not turn out that way. And it was all fear, uncertainty, and doubt. All FUD.
So,
And those that bought the dip take the trip to the moon.
So what I took from that is that you wait like a hawk until you see the dirty dog, and then you dip. Is that right?
You are like my best student, Andy.
Okay, good. I'm going to keep that in mind. There's a t-shirt slogan in that somewhere. We might have to shorten it down a bit.
If you like my tips, please say something in the comments. My tip is always hot, says Dead Game.
Okay, so another one of those next week, and that was
Remington's hot tip. Ooh.
Oh, now we've got another couple of spicy segments coming up. To end the show this week, we're going to have the Forest of Rem next episode coming up soon.
God.
So I hope you've got a dice that doesn't have skulls on it this time, because we don't want everything coming up a 2 again.
Literally every roll was a 2.
So before that, however, it's time for the most popular segment. And let's get a nice bit of steam going here. Because it's time for...
Andy's Deep Bar.
Remington's going to join in as well. Everyone sit back, close your eyes, and relax. You're in the deep bath, which is growing by the week. As you sit back in the deep bath, you crack one eye open and you see perched around the edges of the bath are various people. People that perhaps support this channel financially, allowing them VIP access to the deep bath at all times. They're able to join you in there. Let's see who we've got around the edges of the deep. We've got Cedar, Oshi, got Kim, John, Graham, Nippleless. Got Eric, Brad, Barbara, and Guy. All of them just seated around the edge of the deep bath, allowing the steam and the bubbles cascade over them. Deep relaxation. But what's this? Within one of the bubbles, you see the subscribe button. Reach out in your mind and pluck it, subscribing to this channel. Another bubble pops up. In fact, multiple bubbles. Twitter logo, Discord, Facebook, all of them. You pluck each of them with your mind's eye and join in the social media extravaganza that is the Andy and Rem Show. Links in the description. What's this last one? It's the Patreon bubble, the most magnificent bubble of all. Only the finest supporters of this show. Pluck that bubble, accept it into their heart, pledge, give generously to support the show. Power of suggestion washes over you. Now, as you enter a full, deep state of relaxation, it's time to come back and exit the bath.
Well, thanks for that, Andy. Your tones were very soothing as we were looking at the images of the Walking Dead
Yes.
that had been half bitten to death. That was. You might want a different image when you're doing the little.
Yeah, I should probably do something, get like a picture of a bath maybe.
It is notable that the viewership dropped by 20% during that.
Well, that's because people whose computers aren't powerful enough to run multiple tabs were jumping over to the social media to sign up and pledge their support.
Ah, of course.
Now it's time for final segment of the show.
Can we change the picture now? It's not that I don't like your painting. It's that guy walking into A&E with half an arm is freaking me out. Okay.
So let's have theme song, Forest of Rem. Like, where I put it. It's time.
In the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem, where boys become men in the forest of Rem, Andy and Rem in the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem, is it a chicken or is it a hen? You decide when or when in the forest of Rem. In the forest of Rem. In the forest.
I always forget how long that song is. Anyway, last time you may recall that Remlad, the demonic steed fetlock groomer at Remington the Everchosen's evil shrine, was forced to flee under the righteous Stormcast invasion that crushed the temple, crushed underfoot the legions of chaos that followed the ever-chosen himself, Remington, who was forced to flee also. But young Remlad made it through a portal into the realm of beasts, where he encountered fleeing peasants. What were they fleeing from? A large creature, howling in agony, turned out to, of course, be a wyvern with a thorn of some description wedged in its foot. In a cave, Remlad brought light to the situation by poking at some rocks in the cave, crushing himself just a little, and then while attempting to soothe the beast, was not soothing enough and had his hand unceremoniously chomped off at the wrist. Blood spurting everywhere is where we left off last time, Mr. Remington. So,
Yes.
you've got this enraged, in pain wyvern thrashing about in the cave. Blood is spurting from your wrist in a cartoonish fashion. It gobbles up your hand. What will you do? You do have a spear, if I recall. You were trying to befriend the wyvern, though, weren't you?
Yes, because I know that a Stormcast army, and everyone thinks these Stormcast are good, come in and decimated my hometown and my family.
Your evil shrine.
Evil to some, but evil is just a perspective, isn't it?
But you were sacrificing people to the Chaos Gods.
Well, Sigmarites are undead. How about that? Right? I've had to do something drastic, and if it means sacrificing an arm to tame this wyvern, so I can ride this wyvern in glory back to where my village is burning and wreak havoc upon the Stormcast, nay, perhaps even go through the same portal they arrived in and confront Sigmar face to face. That is what I shall do, for I am of the bloodline of Rem, and I have a skull dice to prove it.
Well, how would you like to proceed then? You're bleeding everywhere, the wyvern's thrashing about. Do you want to continue in your attempts to tame it?
What more could go wrong? I'm gonna shake my fist at it and say, I have sacrificed this for you. Now obey me, wyvern.
Okay. Roll the dice. See how convincing you are.
I will roll the dice, and you watch me get
A 2.
phenomenal number. Here we go. Remington! It's a 2. That's consistent.
I think you need to get a new dice.
It's like, can I just roll it again, just to see if it just permanently goes on a 2? That was a 3. One more. Right, I'll get a different.
Have you got anything that doesn't have skulls on it?
All right, I've got a different dice, and I just rolled a 6. Okay, so now the dice issue's cleared up. I've got one that works. Let me take this roll.
Okay, this is your official roll.
Remington! Oh my god! It's a 2.
Okay. Well, the wyvern seems unmoved by your words and continues to snarl wildly, your blood trickling from its cavernous jaws. It gobbles up your hand, swallows it down, seems somewhat satisfied by that, but is still in pain, the pain pulsating through its body caused by the thorn lodged in its foot that you have so far failed to remove.
Oh, okay. Well, I better do that now then. I shall do that. I shall pull out the thorn.
Gonna just attempt to leap in there with your one good hand and pluck the thorn from its foot.
Is there anyone else I can tell to do that? Have I got any minions?
No.
Okay, it's gonna have to be me then.
So you're really gonna attempt to do that? Okay, because it's so enraged.
Yeah.
Because you just failed to soothe it or command it, then you're gonna have a -1 to this dice roll as well.
So effectively, I'm gonna roll a 1.
Let's find out.
Find out with a You know what? I'm gonna do an Andy dice rolling test. Instead of rolling it, I'm gonna just
Let it
throw it
fall.
down. I'm gonna let it fall. So Remington, it's a 1.
So you've effectively scored a 0.
That's got to be good then.
Well,
0 means when nothing happens.
I am going to roll the dice as well for an
Right.
action that I'm not going to reveal yet, but it is wyvern related. So, let's see what I get here. Okay, so the wyvern, as you reach down in an attempt to pluck the thorn, the wyvern, clearly not satisfied, snaps down with its jaw and takes off your other hand.
Oh, come on, man.
Remington now has 2 wrist stumps, blood spurting from each one of them.
Oh, God. Did you know wyverns don't have proper hands either? Wyverns just got like 2 back legs and 2 like.
Well, you've got
claws.
something in common. Maybe you can bond over that now.
Well, I could, if he needed something pulling out of his foot, I can't even do that now.
Can't
Right.
you?
Well, I could try with my mouth or my feet.
Well, there you go. What's it going to be?
My mouth, and maybe he'll bite my head off then, and then this adventure.
Well, you know
will be
what?
over.
Because this is your last chance to dive in there, you're putting your head on the line, you're showing some bravery. I'm going to give you +1 to the dice roll here to try and
Amazing.
bite
So-
the thorn out of the wyvern's toe.
I can't get less than a 2. Here we go. Let's go back to my style. Imagining I am at Warhammer World, where the dice gods favour me with a Remington. Oh, it's a 6. Actually, a 7.
So you've rolled a 7. Okay. You essentially cannonball your way towards the wyvern. You dodge between the snarling jaws, like rotating through the jaws, which then snap behind you. As you pass its foot, you kind of grip it with your teeth, pull it out, and spin to safety, landing on your feet in a very impressive fashion. The wyvern lets out a howl of pain, but then that's followed by silence. It looks down at you with your wrist stumps, then looks back to its foot. It sits, contented, by your side. The wyvern has been tamed.
I need to get on its back, and we need to fly to my village, with or without my hands.
So you're going to try and climb onto its back with no hands.
Yes.
As you're about to do that, you hear a sound from the cave entrance. Tiny footsteps. Why, it's a small child, one of the fleeing children from earlier.
Oh God, not now, Kate.
Oh, sir, help me. Me mother's run off into the woods, she has, and I can't find her. Help me.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to save a whole world right now. You're so selfish thinking about your mother. So, I don't know. Just okay. The child can come with me. Maybe we'll find the mother from the skies above. Let's.
You
get her
notice
on
that the
one
child is carrying a small bucket as well.
bucket. That.
You don't know what's in it at this stage, but the child is carrying a bucket.
Okay, I will ask the child, "What's in your bucket, dear Liza?"
It's all my life's possessions, my lord.
Let me look at your hands.
Child sees that your stumps are bleeding everywhere, holds out its hands hesitantly towards you. You see that they're nice, clean, but very small hands. However, the bucket looks like it could fit snugly over one of your stumps.
The what? The bucket?
Yes, it's a nice metal bucket.
How can that fit on my hands?
It's a small bucket. It looks like it could fit right over your wrist stump.
Bucket hands.
You could essentially have a bucket hand. Yes, you could then graft something to it. You've got a spear.
Okay, let's do it.
You're gonna ask him for the bucket, maybe.
Yeah. I said, kid, give me the bucket, and I'll help you.
Can I come with you on your adventures, my lord? I've got no family now.
Well, if you don't mind being eaten, the answer is yes. You can always use cannon fodder or wyvern food.
He didn't seem to fully grasp what you were saying there, but he's very enthusiastic and hands over the bucket, which you'll see contains 3 gold pieces and some soiled rags. You're going to attempt to graft this bucket onto your hand, onto your
The
stump,
soiled
shall we say.
rag. I mean, can a wyvern like breathe fire or something on my hand and
The wyvern does not breathe fire, no.
cauterize the wound? I mean, is there any fire in the cave or any?
You could light a fire.
Oh God, yeah, it's a good idea.
Have
Kill
you even
two
asked this
birds.
child his name yet?
No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is the end.
Maybe
of
he'll
the
be
world.
more willing to help you if you find out his name.
Oh, what's your name, kid?
Jimothy!
Great. Okay. Timothy what?
Jimothy, not Timothy.
Timothy. Okay, great. That is significant name? No. Okay then.
What's
Okay.
your name, my lord?
My name is Remington, son of the Remington, lord of the forest and of the 4 chaos gods, chosen. Although they haven't chosen me, kind of just let me be vanquished. Even.
Can I give you some
Now I've got
advice?
bucket hand. What?
Why don't you ask Jimothy to light a fire so that you can maybe weld the spike from your spear onto the bucket and you can give yourself like a spike hand?
Right, Jimothy. To prove you are worthy, you have a series of tasks. First one is lighting a fire.
All right then. Jimothy scampers out of the cave and returns with a couple of twigs and some stones. He sits down cross-legged on the floor in front of you and begins furiously grinding them against each other, chipping away, attempting to create a fire. And now I'm going to roll the dice to see what Jimothy's fire starting skills are like. And the dice fell off the table. It's a 6. So with no effort at all, it's just immediate campfire that Jimothy has started.
It has its uses. Okay. Great. I will plunge my stubs into the fire, waterizing the wound, and then stick a spike in them, and then stick the bucket through them, and then let's.
So you'll at least have one hand that's useful for fighting then, and another one that's still a stump for now.
For now.
Okay, very well. Would you like to... I'm not going to ask you to roll the dice to cauterize the wounds, because you'll probably roll a 1 and then I'll have to set your whole body on fire. So, you are going to have to roll to create this crude bit of weaponry on the end of your wrist, though, in very Walking Dead style.
Okay. Remington? It's a 6.
Well, managed to forge quite a magnificent wrist piece. The bucket fits snugly over the stump, which has been freshly healed. It fits so snugly, in fact, that you don't think it'll ever come off, which is handy for combat. And then you manage to weld with the heat from Jimothy's amazing fire. You weld the spike from the spear onto the end of the bucket, so that you now have a mighty spike on the end of your wrist.
Awesome. Maybe I could spike Jimothy to myself, like Master Blaster from Beyond Thunderdome. I don't know.
Sounds terrible.
I hadn't thought that one through, really, had I? Okay, let's get on the wyvern now.
Very well. Are you going to invite Jimothy up onto the wyvern with you?
We'll see. It might be safer for him to remain in the cave.
I don't think he's going to accept that. Maybe pitch the idea to him.
Jimothy, have you ever seen a battle before?
Of course I have.
Are you any good in a fight?
Of course I am.
Great. Are you sure you're not a gnome?
Of course I am.
A gnome?
No, I ain't no gnome. I'm an human, ain't I?
Okay, this isn't going very well. I will take him with me. You never know. He'll be useful. Either as cannon fodder or maybe he can help me.
Very well.
in a
The
pinch.
wyvern is so tame now that it lowers itself to the ground, so you don't even have to like climb up with your crude hand replacement. So you climb onto its back, got a good grip with the spike, you manage to find somewhere to perch it that doesn't pierce the creature, and Jimothy climbs up and he's like holding onto your back like you would on a shared motorbike.
Okay.
So where are you
Dead
going to
gamer-
direct the wyvern to fly?
Dead Gamer is convinced he's a Stormcast spy and I should eat him. And Dead Gamer, you could be right. Keep your enemies close. No, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's what I heard said. So I'll keep him close to me. Where are we going to fly? I'm going to fly back to the village. But one question. What are wyverns good at? Because they don't breathe fire, do they?
They
don't
have a sting in their tail, and they can.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty good at biting people's hands off, I've heard.
Okay. Well, hopefully they're good at biting Stormcast heads off, because that's going to be the objective here.
So you
Let's
want to
fly back.
You want to find a realm gate that takes you back to the realm of Rem. Because the one that you entered through closed behind you, so you want to find a different one.
Oh, I forgot about that minor detail. Yes, I suppose I should.
Okay.
I'm going to be praying to the gods to just give me some kind of powers.
So as the
As well.
wyvern takes off into the skies, circling round looking for a realm gate, that is where we leave off the adventure for this week. Remlad now has less hands than he used to, but at least he has a tool replacing one of them. He's got a new sidekick, the not at all annoying, very useful and resourceful Jimothy. And what could possibly go wrong from here as they seek a realm gate heading back into the realm of Rem that last we heard was overrun with a Stormcast invasion force? Doesn't sound like a bad plan at all. Find
Okay,
out what
perfect.
happens next week. And that
Well,
just about wraps up the show for this week as well.
Yeah, that's been awesome. A lot of old friends have come back into the fold. So welcome, Dicey Guy. Obviously, Brad, the gamer, Danny Ashby. Lovely to hear from you. Obviously, Mickey Genver. The business has missed you. Hopefully, you're going to get back on board Remington Industries. It's about to go crazy.
Yeah, we've had a lot of different people commenting tonight, which is always a treat. So, regarding what the hell is that? You'll notice that it isn't going to close the show this week because of the underwhelming response to what the hell is that. I'm now going to attempt to put it out as a separate video rather than part of the show to see if that gets more of a response. So we'll see how that does and then assess the situation going forward. So your eyes peeled for that. And with that, I think it's time for us to have a quick look at the episode thumbnail again, because, as you know, Cursed City is gone, maybe forever, or if Remington's correct, maybe for a few weeks until they decide to knock up a few dozen more of them. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description. Send all your money to support this channel which is essentially a lighthouse, a beacon of joy and hope in the dark, foggy, misty void that is this turbulent world in which we live, guiding all your lifeboats safely through these stormy seas, bringing you
Back to RemCon, which perhaps is going to take place in 2021, Nottingham, Warhammer World. You're all welcome, by the way.
apps and Andy Palooza, of course. And the new Forest of Rem Season 3 logo is now available on merchandise at the Redbubble shop, which is linked in the description as well. So if anyone were to purchase a piece of merch with that logo on it, then they can have a character named after them in the following episode of the Forest of Rem, which I think you'll find is quite a perk. So with that, Mr. Remington, would you like to say goodnight to the audience?
Say good night to the audience.
And all that remains to be said at this point is good night out there. Whatever you
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy